Namaste. I'm Rishabh, and in the previous episode, we discussed the importance of the sum or the first beat of the rhythm cycle and how the sum of the first beat is important and interconnected in the rhythm section as well as in the Bandish that we're singing. Remember, we emphasize one part of the Bandish corresponding to the sum, but that was just me singing. In this episode, we will try and break down the three recordings that we've heard till now and try and recognize the sum or the first beat in these recordings. And then we'll probably break one or two recordings more so that the concept of sum and the first beat and its importance and its emphasis really gets imprinted in our minds. So let's get to it. Now this couldn't have been any easier. The sum was pointed out like this by Ustad Shahid Parvez himself, and that is the importance of the sum. And that is, if you notice, that is where the tabla begins playing from, because it's the first beat. Let's try and watch one more part of this recording and see if we can recognize the sum again. That's an alap. You saw he sang an alap, came back, and then landed on Kanha Re. And the Re is the sum. The Re of Kanha Re is the sum, the first beat. And this is a 16-beat cycle, that doesn't matter. All that you have to learn to recognize is the emphasis being laid on the sum. And in this case, it's the Re of Kanha Re. You see, more often than not, the sum itself is so heavy, it's so emphasized upon. As you just saw, he sang an alap, came back to the mukhda, ja re apne, and as soon as the ma of mandirva came, he emphasized it by saying mandirva, right? Let's move on to the next one. The next recording is Pandit Venkatesh Kumar singing Raag Durga. We've heard this in the previous video. And the lyrics are Sakhi Mori Rooma Jhuma, the bowls. And the sum, the first beat, falls on the sa of Sakhi, right? So Sakhi Mori Rooma Jhuma, the first beat falls on the sa of Sakhi. In this one, we will count out the number of beats and we'll see if the sa of Sakhi coincides with the first beat or the sum. So it's a 10-beat cycle. We'll be counting it out as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 1. So we'll be coming back to 1 after 10 and we'll be seeing if the first beat coincides with the sa of Sakhi. Let's get to it. You saw how that coincided? It's going to be like this every time because this is a cycle and it'll keep on going. Let's get to the next example. The next one is again Pandit Venkatesh Kumar because he's that good. So he's again singing in the 10-beat cycle. So again we'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 1. And the lyrics are, the bowls are Tu hai prakat, tu hai nikat, which is talking about God and how he's manifest everywhere, Tu hai prakat, and that he's near everyone, Tu hai nikat. The sum falls on Tu. Tu hai prakat, tu hai nikat. The sum, the first beat falls on Tu. Let's see if we can recognize the emphasis on this letter or on this word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see how the emphasis is inbuilt and it's always emphasized by the artist. So it's either a head gesture or a hand gesture or a blink of the eye, and of course a force in the voice, which signifies that the artist has arrived at the sum. The next recording is of Ustad Shahid Parvez playing Raag Kirwani on the Sitar. Again, one of my favorites, and he's from the same gharana, and he's actually related to Ustad Vilayat Khan, whose recording we heard in the previous episode. So he's playing Raag Kirwani on the Sitar, again a 10-beat cycle. So of course in this case there will not be a lyric or a part of the lyric which comes back to the sum, What we can do is watch out for his expressions, and we can watch out for the emphasis on the sum. I'll be counting the beats out along with the performance, so don't worry. It may be a little tough, but the aim is not to become an expert. The aim is to try and understand, at least to get an idea of what is happening. So let's try and decipher this. Keep an eye out for Ustad Ji's expressions. 1, 2, 3. You see how he gives a little smile when he correctly arrives at the sum. Let's give it another try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Again, if all of this is gibberish to you, at least watch out for his expressions. Wherever you see him suddenly smile, that is the place where he has correctly arrived at the sum, right? Let's give it another try. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 1, 2, 3. So see how easy that was. In this episode, along with the previous episode, we tried to cover the importance of the sum, and we saw how artists often try to emphasize the sum when they correctly arrive at it. They improvise, play alaps or sing alaps or play tans, fast tans, fancy tans, but they have to correctly come back home after exploring the city. They have to correctly show the sum. They have to correctly show to the audience that, all right, I can come back to the sum. I can explore the Raag for you, but I can correctly come back to the sum. Right? So that's it for this episode. And I'll meet you in the next episode. Until then, Namaste. So, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun. So you saw how the O of oh, what fun automatically had emphasis on it.